Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Zooming In with Danyal Diallo. I'm, of course, your host, Danyal Diallo. I hope you're doing well. Today, we have an awesome guest among us. She's a passionate specialist in the field of building value driven brands. She has over 25 years of experience in the box operations, retail, customer experience, marketing, public relations, and so much more. Using customer retention as her superpower, I love that. She's able to help your team understand and lead the force to create absolute loyalty in your business, starting from the outside in. Now, when I read that first, I was like, what? We're taught to start from the inside out. So, so glad to be talking to you about that. Please help me welcome the founder of Value Driven Brands, actually, Aileen Day. Welcome.
Hey, it is so lovely to finally come on your show and hang out with you. It's been far too long.
It's been a while, hasn't it? Oh my goodness. How you been? What's
I have
the
been absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I see your content on Facebook and on LinkedIn, and I was like, oh my gosh, this person is just on. That is awesome.
Yeah, busy,
So,
busy lady, woman on a mission.
woman on a mission. That's right. So you've been working from the ground up as a leader in some of Australia's largest businesses. Don't
Yeah,
name
for
drop.
sure.
Don't name drop, but please do. Tell us a
Bunnings.
bit about that. Tell us a bit about that journey.
Well, basically, I started after I finished high school, finished year 12, and all of my friends went off to university. So I decided the academic life was not my life, and I wanted to go and earn some hard, cold cash
Woo.
and cold, hard cash. And so I went and started a traineeship, management traineeship at Coles supermarkets, and that was certainly an eye opener in resilience. And decided after about 12 months that was not my jam, and decided then to move to another big box, which was Bunnings, and kicked off a career there which spanned over 12 years at Bunnings. Started as a team member on the special orders desk, and then by the time I left, I was the customer insights manager for Australia and New Zealand, and taking care of their customer experience and helping make sure that customers wanted to shop and stay with Bunnings and be loyal to that brand, and ultimately help them become Australia's number one trusted brand after a few years of being in that role.
Oh wow. So you're basically that person outside the box, looking in, telling the people in the box how to improve. That's another perspective, another angle, I think.
Yeah,
Why
absolutely.
why
That's a good way of putting it, really.
yeah, why do you take that perspective? Why is it important?
Well, ultimately, when I say starting from the outside in, what I really mean is starting from outside the company and talking and listening and learning from the customers. So,
Mm,
and then pulling that information and those insights and those, wants and needs and values, and bringing them into the company and helping those that work in the company to then be able to have the systems and the processes and the policies and everything that they need to then deliver on that experience that the customers will want to have, as a part of their lives, and ultimately feel like they are a part of us as well. So yeah, we
mm.
start from the outside and we bring it in. But yeah, I mean, sometimes it did look like I was outside the box telling the people inside the box what to do.
Yeah,
But the blessing was that I came from inside the box as well.
yeah.
So I had a really good understanding of what the customers were looking for, and obviously in that role, we were taking more than 1,500
Mm,
pieces of feedback a week.
mm.
So there's a lot of insights that can come from that, and a lot of ways to improve the way you do business.
When I read that as well, I took it in terms of human behavior as well. Feedback that we receive from others. Could you talk a bit about that? How have you noticed before that it aligns?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, nearly everything we do is related to human behavior, and you nearly don't need, if you do have a certificate in it or a piece of paper for it, then you are definitely, you're on top, but it's not really one of those things that you need to have to go to uni for 4 or 6 years to learn. It really comes down to observation, using, your communication skills, listening, asking really good questions. I used to have on my LinkedIn profile, it used to say, Aileen Day, asker of questions. I used to get told all the time, stop asking questions. And I'd say, start answering my questions better and I'll ask less.
That's true. That is so true.
But, it is, you're right. It's human behavior, and it's trying to understand the intricacies of what humans value. And a lot of my work comes down to learning and asking the right questions and observing humans in their natural habitats, because really we are just a pack of animals. But deciphering what that really means. Just because you tell me that you like ice cream doesn't mean that I instantly recognize everything about that ice cream that you like. You might go, I really love ice cream, but it takes me understanding further, deeper, asking good questions, observing what you do when it is, that someone puts ice cream in front of you, to really implicitly know how to serve you.
Wow, all the details. That do you think that most, people outside of the company want to help the company often when they come in and they don't have, like, let's say a terrible experience or a good experience? Do you think they often, like, really really want to contribute to improve the way people in the business are doing the things, or do you just think
I'd say yes and no. So here's a fun fact, right? When I was the customer insights manager for Bunnings, that was about 7 years ago. So not that long ago, there was a statistic going around that for every one customer that was providing you negative customer feedback, and ultimately they're telling you because they want to see you improve, right? They have a vested interest.
Mm-hmm.
You might not feel that way when they're ranting and raving at you, but the reality was that for every one customer that told you how they honestly felt, there was 10 who just walked off and never came back, never told you, never gave you the opportunity to improve, never gave you the opportunity to learn. So in answer to your question, there were 10 who said, no, I don't care enough about you to help you improve, versus the one that did. So, but fast forward 7 years, and a study came out at the end of 2020, so just end of last year, a few months ago, that showed that 10 is now up to 26.
Wow.
So for every one customer that tells you how you made them feel negatively, there is 26 that walk the hell away, never to be seen again. But the problem is, just because you don't hear about them doesn't mean that they're not talking about that experience. So that 26 just multiplies and multiplies. And people, like, back in the day, they're like, 10, and we've got social media now. Well, do you know how many more platforms for people to voice their opinions on we have compared to 7 years ago? Like, it got real.
Does it work the other way around as well?
No, not really. Not really. Yeah, customers are, when it comes to leaving feedback, there's a real polarization between insights. It's really difficult unless you strategically put in a method to find that middle ground feedback. Customers generally will only give you feedback, and I say generally just in case people are like, no, I tell them all the time. Yeah, good, you're awesome. But generally speaking, they will only tell you on the polarity. So they'll tell you when they're really, really upset, and they'll tell you when they're really, really over the moon and ecstatic. So, which is great. And if anyone uses things like, or satisfaction scores like net promoter scores, those two scores are certainly either end of the scale. But it's a lot of the time the gold can also be found in the middle. So where you've got people who are like, yeah, I got what I want. How do you tip those people into, oh my God, this is amazing, right? And the people that were like, I didn't really get what I want, but I'll still come back. How do you tip those people into, oh my God, this is amazing, as opposed to they're actually closer to the, like, I'm never coming back end of the scale. So how do you pull them over? The people who are like, I'm never coming back, likelihood is they actually mean it in most cases.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
but at least they gave you the chance to learn.
That's the tricky part, converting that over to moving them to the good side. And
it is. It can be. I mean, you'd be surprised. Sometimes it's actually quite simple.
What drives you to do that?
About 18 months ago, I came to a smashing realization that businesses in Australia didn't understand the meaning of customer experience. And it floored me. And I had been walking around in my business practice for 3.5 years, essentially with my head up my ass, thinking that everybody knew what customer experience was. Because the first few years that I was in business for myself, I was working with corporate companies who customer experience is kind of a given in those environments. But then I started transitioning to small to medium businesses and kind of expecting that they, or assuming, which, you know what they say about assumptions, it makes an ass out of you and me, that they too would know what customer experience meant. And I went to a workshop maybe about 18 months ago, and it had an opportunity for you to pitch your business. And I was so arrogant. I'm not ashamed to say I was so arrogant, right? I was like, I got this lit. This is done, right? No problem. And then you had to go and kind of round robin, do your pitch in 20 seconds to about 30 different people. And out of those 30 people, 27 of them either looked at me stunned, confused, or tried to correct me and ask if I meant customer service. And I said, no, I don't mean customer service. I mean customer experience. So then it put me on this whole spiral. I was like, nobody bloody knows what customer experience is. What the hell? Where have they been? How do they run a business? And then the scary thing for me is, like, doing some more research around that, I find out that in the first 3 years of people going into business for themselves, 3 out of 5 don't survive. Oh my God, I'm a poet and I didn't know it.
That was planned.
Statistically,
that was planned.
3 out of 5 don't survive. I'm going to make a rap song out of that. I'm going to be like, totes
It's the
cool.
beat. It's the beat.
Just get a beat. Yeah, for sure.
But that's concerning, though.
It is so scary. And, you know, like, I do so much content around delivering a value-driven brand. And, you know, I even went and created a company about it and a podcast, and everything I do is about this value-driven brand and how to create it to therefore live this value-driven life. But how can you live a value-driven brand, or how can you live value-driven life even when your business goes down the toilet in the first 3 years?
Yeah.
And the reality of it is that if you had some foundational understanding of what it took to deliver customer experience, you might not have been that 1 in 3. You might not have been the 3 of the 5. You might have been the 2 that was still around today. So what drives me is trying to reduce that number to help businesses understand implicitly and intrinsically how to deliver customer experience so that their customers stick around. And I have this, like corny little tagline where I tell people, I want you to deliver a customer experience worthy of your customers' loyalty, because to gain somebody's loyalty this day and age is practically unheard of. When I'm working with customers, one of the very first things that I ask them to do, and I work with them, is for them to create what we call a customer experience journey map. And really that's them taking into account their vision for their business. So where do they want to see their business? But then kind of backfilling that. How are you going to deliver that vision? And sometimes it's really cute. They're like, oh, I just want to be the best in pack. And I'm like, no, mate, we can go bigger than that. Like, let's blow our minds, right? Let's at least be the best in the southeast suburbs or something. But it is part of that kind of creating that vision is understanding what drives you. It's a really good question. What's your purpose? What is your vision? Like, we talk about your big, hairy, audacious goal. And it's funny, they say if it doesn't make you quiver, if it doesn't make you basically shake in your boots, you'll notice just for you, Danyal, I'm keeping this very G-rated.
I know. I was like, oh my goodness, she's doing so well to keep it. That's so good.
Yeah, very G-rated. I don't know who's going to be watching this. But there's an element of, or a process that we go through helping them understand their vision. And then I help them kind of backfill what that's going to take. What are the processes you're going to need to put in place? What are the customer touch points you're going to need? How do you know what they're feeling and thinking? Like, so often we kind of go, oh, I've got this great idea. I'm going to open up a business. And then we kind of don't recognize what needs to be done past that. Or we kind of come up with this like, oh, I've got to do, budgeting or forecasting. We kind of think about the money aspect, but we don't necessarily consider, well, what are the systems and processes that I'm going to put in place? What is what is that particular touch point going to feel like for my customer to make them go, oh, I know all about it. This is grand. I want more of this, and ultimately creating that experience so that you get that customer loyalty. And when you've got that customer loyalty, that vision of, a value-driven brand, I talk a lot about moving your business from a business to a brand. And the difference is, a business is the products you sell and the things you do, but a brand is how you make people feel. And, ultimately we can all be a business, but it's going to be the people who turn themselves into a brand that are the ones that outlast us all. And helping them understand what that takes is imperative, or else they're not going to do it, because to be honest, some of it's not very sexy. Yeah. Like some of it is just downright boring, right?
Boring as heck.
So boring. But I like to make it a lot more fun. And I think if you want something bad enough, you will fight tooth and nail to get it to work. And it reminds me of this really cool anecdote story, I guess, that I love telling my customers when they're, upset and they're ready to give up. And I say to them, there's this story about a miner in the gold fields in the US when, in the 1700s, back in the day, pre-GPS.
I don't know.
I mean, I wasn't around, but I hear this story, and basically it goes along the lines of this guy spent all this money buying mining equipment, and he was mining, and he was finding, at the time he was actually in I believe a uranium mine or some mine, whatever, let's call it gold. And he was finding gold, but then it stopped and he couldn't find any more. And he dug and he was just getting nowhere. And he was at the end of his tether, and he's like, well, this is it. I feel like I've done what I can do. I'm angry. I'm upset. I've spent all this money on equipment, and now I've got no more gold. So he went to the local township. He sold all his equipment to a local there. The local paid a pittance to get a tracker of sorts to come out and survey the land. And the tracker, the surveyor, found gold under the ground 3 foot from the last tunnel.
Oh no!
That the previous miner had dug to.
What?
So when you feel like you have just had enough, whether it is your job, whether it is a new project, whatever it is, I always come back to that. I'm like, am I 3 foot away from gold? Am I about to throw the towel in and walk away from an absolute shindig of a day?
Yeah,
I really am G-rating this for you.
I appreciate it. I love it. I love it. No, but it stands true. Yeah, it stands true as well. And I think part of that, part of the quitting early or giving up and finding something else, I think, and I want to see if you agree with this. Sometimes we're following other people's timeline.
Yes, all the time. Even when adults do it all the time.
This person has gotten here. Why am I still here? And so I'm doing my own thing. And so then and then I'm like looking at them. I'm like, all right, well, this thing doesn't serve me. I'm gonna start doing something else. And so I start doing what I was meant to be doing. And so it's very, very, very important to follow your own timeline. That person is, you're here. Stay here.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. What do you want to leave the audience with, Aileen, to think about, to ponder on?
I want to leave them on one of my favorite sayings, and it goes as simply as this: if not now, then when?
Wow. You heard it first from Aileen Day. Thank you so much, Aileen, for joining us today. I hope
my absolute pleasure.
An absolute awesome week.